How's it going? My name is Alex Pites with Pites Performance Tunes, and we are out here at Autobahn Country Club in Chicago. It's pretty awesome out here. This is a beautiful track, beautiful facility. We're here for the Gridlife event. We are running the GLGT, that's Gridlife Grand Touring Series. That's a wheel-to-wheel series. It's about 8.9 pounds to 1 horsepower. That's the horsepower to weight ratio. So you have cars from varying degrees, home-built cars, factory GT4 cars, all kinds of cool cars coming in together. We've got a field of about 15 cars this weekend, and right now we're qualified at 12th. We missed some practice time. We're still learning the track, we're still learning the car. We're getting it together, but we're only gonna pick up time, we're only gonna get faster. But nonetheless, guys, we're gonna get out here, we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna see what this thing can do. We're really excited about this car, and we're really excited to be here, so stick around. All right, guys, we just did our first race. It was in the rain. Well, it rained just before, hailing, actually all kinds of crazy weather just before the race. So we got out there. Conditions were very, very, very slick. So it wasn't exactly the fastest race. It wasn't the most exciting race, but it was interesting nonetheless. So we ended up going up a couple places in our starting order. I think we're in 11th or 10th now. So, you know, we're getting up there. You know, we stayed out there, made it back in one piece. I had not raced this car in this configuration in the rain or the wet before, so it was definitely a learning experience. And just like everything's been with this car thus far, it's all been learning. You know, we've never had this much aero on the car. We've never had these exact tires, the Falcons, and also the car is making less horsepower than what we typically would be making because we had to fit within the rule set of 8.9 pounds to 1 horsepower. So a lot of new things happening here, but we're getting out there. We're staying competitive, trying to do our best in anything that we do. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the car, so let's show you around. All right, so this car started off as a 2020 Stingray Z51. We got it brand new back in April of 2020. We went to the Corvette Museum actually to get it, and I always intended on making this car a full-out race car, just as it is now. So it's fully gutted, caged. Back in late 2020, we actually wrecked the car, put it into the wall at NCM. That was not a fun experience. And since then, I knew that was the time to start working on it. Now, things were slow because we were expanding, we were moving to a different shop, we were doing a lot of things with the business, really improving the amount of products that we offer for the C8, just like our turbo kits that we're making for the Z06 and the Stingray, and now Hellcats as well, amongst many other things and improvements we're making to the business. So now we've been able to finally get back to getting this car on track. We're very excited to have this car back on track. So the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle was caging it. We actually have all the CAD data from the car, and we were able to develop a cage based off that CAD data. And we actually have this entire cage in CAD. So it's pretty cool that we were able to do that. So if you look at the cage, you get some shots of it, you'll see all of the little fine details that went into it. And this is actually completely replicatable. And it's an 1.5-inch diameter. It's a 120 wall chromoly tubing. So very strong cage, very sturdy. We wanted to optimize the amount of space that I had to get in and out of the car. That's why we did the 1.5-inch diameter tubing as well. Also, you'll see it's still on the factory electronics. So it's a factory ECM, factory TCM. We are using HP tuners to tune the car. We've got our head and cam package, cam from Brian Tooley Racing, heads from Hooper's Heads with upgraded valves, springs, everything valve train related that you can do to upgrade it. We also have ARP head studs. It's a stock short block because there was really no need to build a short block because we're actually had to pull 80 horsepower out of the car to meet the horsepower to weight rules. Nonetheless, uncorked, we'll call it, this car makes 445 rear wheel horsepower on our Mustang dyno. Stock on our dyno, it's about 390. So 50-60 horsepower gain from the heads and cam. But nonetheless, you know, the car does very well. We've got a lot of telemetry that we collect, different types of data that we're getting while we're on track using Fire Laps. They also sponsor GLGT. And we were really excited actually because we were gonna race the car in GLTC, which is about 12 pounds to 1 horsepower, but then they announced GLGT in winter of last year. And so I was really excited because that's a more fitting car or fitting class for this car. So then we decided, okay, we're gonna go for GLGT. Then we started kind of, building the car to those specs. We're not quite fully optimizing the rule set yet. We're still working through some things. The biggest thing I was trying to prioritize was getting the car back on track and getting the car out there, getting exposure, and really starting to learn the car again. So we're really excited to be able to do that right now. That's been our main focus, and just work from there, optimize it from there, and just keep working for it. All right, so some other modifications we made to the car to optimize it for racing is our aero mods, which we're using a rear wing and rear wing setup from 9 Lives Racing. Johnny over there helped us out with that. This is our own front splitter that we designed in-house using Johnny's or 9 Lives Racing splitter ramps to help with getting more downforce in the front. So if you look at the frame that we made for the splitter, it's actually quite interesting. And it's very robust because we had some issues at Road America with our splitter there, and we redesigned the entire thing, and now it's awesome. I mean, you can stand and jump on this thing, it's not going anywhere. Some other things that we want to highlight are the JRI shocks from Ultimate Performance. JJ Farillo over there does a fantastic job of supporting us and helping us figure out what shock adjustments we need to make depending on what the track conditions are, and amongst other things such as what the car is doing itself, how I feel, what my responses are to what the car is doing. So JRI, Ultimate Performance, fantastic product. And of course, we've got the Forge Line wheels. They are awesome, 18-inch wheels. We've got the Falcon tires. In addition to that, just a few other things. Again, HP tuners, we optimized the car with that. We're using telemetry data that we're using or collecting using HP tuners as well. So a lot of good information coming from that. Still got the stock dash. We've got the Momo seats and the Momo steering wheel, which have been awesome. Those guys have been great. They supported me pretty well over the last few years. And yeah, just your typical safety equipment that you need to run safe and be out here. CarTech cutoff switch, and amongst other things. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff, good race car goodies to get you through. But yeah, just all kinds of technology's gone to this car. And of course, Tremec, those guys have been great to me. And they're supporting the car as well. And just, yeah, so a lot of great sponsors. I couldn't do without these guys. And it's very, very humbling to be a part of that and to have their support. So we appreciate you. Okay, so we're about to go out for race 2 in GLGT. This is the final race of the day. It's finally got some good conditions, sunny weather, a complete 180 from this morning's race. That was very interesting. But we expect better results today or this afternoon. And we're gonna go out there, we're gonna give it our all and see what's in store. All right, so we are in Hans Horpedal's C5 Corvette. We recently put a Core ECU in it at Lime Rock Park for a Gridlife race as well. Hans has been coming out to Gridlife races for many years. He's also kind of on the staff as well. He's a mentor for other wheel-to-wheel drivers and a friend of mine and a customer of ours. And so we're here trying to help him out. We recently had it on the dyno earlier today. Everything looked pretty good. And so we went out and raced it, and he got impounded. And here in Gridlife, in GLGT, GLTC, if you get impounded, they usually weigh your car, make sure that it weighs what you think it weighs or within what you said it should weigh. And then they will put you on the dyno. They have a dyno jet here in-house or on-site, and it actually dynoed about 50 horsepower lower than what it dynoed at earlier. So we really don't know why that happened. So I actually went and pulled the data with the Core ECU. I can pull the data after the race. I can see all the data that happened while the entire race was going on. So it really gives me a good insight as to what's going on with the car while it's on track after the fact. And the data looks good. Everything looks fine. So I really don't know why it would have been down that much power. Generally, when we see that much power loss, it's usually down a cylinder. I visually looked at everything. Everything looks okay. So really at this point, with the data looking good and everything visually looking good, the only thing we can do is put it back on the dyno and confirm everything. Unless there's some kind of weird modifier based off temperature or something of that nature, we really just need to get it back on the dyno again, where it's not in an impound situation where we can actually focus on it and look at some more information. So we're going to do that tomorrow. So maybe we'll get some shots of that for you. But nonetheless, that's what's going on here. Hans is in the running to potentially get a podium if he keeps running pretty well. So we really want to keep this car on track and keep it running. And so we'll see how it goes. All right, so we are still out here trying to figure out what's going on. To fill you in, look back at my data from the last race. We were struggling. We were still hanging in there trying to chase another car, but we had started off towards the back of the field, of course, because we had a few other little things we were working through before that, and trying to make some positions up. But noticed probably halfway, three-quarters way through the race that the car appeared or felt to be down on power. I was losing about 3 or 4 miles per hour on the back straight between turn 10 and turn 11. And just, finished the race, of course, but went back and looked at the data. I was like, yeah, this is definitely not right. And I went to go data log it, and I noticed, on bank 2, it's pulling 20, 30%. On bank 1, it's adding up to 50% of fuel on that bank. So generally, when you're adding that much fuel, that indicates there's a problem, like a misfire or something on that bank. And first things first, you usually check the spark plugs and check the plug wires and see what's going on there. We checked the plug wires. They all look fine. Everything's seated good. Check the plugs. Cylinder 3, 5, and 7 look good. Cylinder 1 actually did look to be fouled, like basically black, carboned up. So that indicated to me there might be a problem on that cylinder. We did see that the porcelain was cracked on that plug, but it might have happened when we were pulling the plug out. Put a new spark plug on cylinder 1, fired it up, seeing the same issue. I'm seeing a fluctuating rail pressure as well for whatever reason, and I don't know why. But that could be because the load's varying, because the manifold pressure is pretty high. We're not making much vacuum in the manifold right now. So at this point now, I have a sneaking suspicion that it could be a broken valve or the valve starting to break or bend. I have seen this happen on quite a few LT2s lately in the last year and a half or so. We just upgraded the valves on these heads too. So I would hope that it wouldn't be a broken valve or a bent valve, but that's always a possibility in situations like this. But right now though, we're actually pulling the valve cover to see if the rocker arm is seated on the push rod properly or if there's something else deeper going on. If everything's seated upright, everything looks good under the valve cover, then at this point, or at that point, you basically know you've got a problem with the valve. So that's where we're at with it. We're pulling that off and we're gonna see what we see. All right, so we put the car back on the dyno and it's making the exact same horsepower as what we expected to make, 370 horsepower, time after time after time. So something last night when it came off track and impound was going on where either the car was hot, something's moving around, or something else is changing. We were able to pull the data from the session and everything looked good data-wise. Timing was right, air fuel was right. So we're really not sure what was going on there, but I'm sure he was down a cylinder if the dyno was down 50 horsepower, 60 horsepower on the dyno that day. So we're gonna go look at some other things and see what it could possibly be, but it's not tuning or mechanical related as far as when things are normal, temperature-wise, etc. So something else is going on. We're gonna dig deeper into it and see what we can find. Okay, so we were lucky enough to find another high pressure pump. Our friends at Paragon Performance actually got us that pump. They had it in their trailer, an extra spare OEM brand new high pressure pump. So we just are swapping that out right now. And we blew out the lines to make sure there wasn't any debris. And this is something we've been kind of looking at because we've actually been pulling power out of the car to meet the GLGT rule class. And because of that, we're actually seeing higher rail pressure than what we would ever see, generally speaking. Plus we have the cam, so we're driving it even harder yet. So now we gotta go back and maybe look at some things we could do to mitigate this issue. But if that is the problem, this will fix the issue and get us back on the track for the next race, just in time. We're about 45 minutes from our next race, so we're cutting it close, but we're getting right there. All right, so we got the high pressure fuel pump changed out. Went to go fire it up. It's in reduced acceleration or reduced engine power, basically limp mode. But basically we're just gonna reflash it with the latest tune we had in it to reset everything and then see what we get, because it probably went in limp mode because it was seeing too low of rail pressure when the pump was not working. I will say this, when we went to fire it fired up immediately, whereas before it was having to sit there and crank and crank and crank to build enough pressure to actually start. So I'm pretty sure that this pump is gonna fix the issue. So we're about to fire it up and find out. Sounds normal. Yeah. All right, so the high pressure fuel pump did fix it. We are back in business. Car is running great. Thanks to everybody who helped me out. My brother-in-law, Andy, is here, and my sister and all the family, and they're all really helping out, pitching in. And of course, Stephanie, my one and only. She's awesome, always helping out a lot. She's my main pit crew. And yeah, we really appreciate all their help. Of course, also Paragon, Jeremy over there lended me the high pressure pump, and that really came in clutch because without him, we wouldn't be racing right now. So thank you, Paragon, thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Graham. You guys are great. I love doing business with you guys, so thank you again for that. And let's go racing. Okay, so we looked at everything with the suspension codes. There was actually no codes from the suspension control module, but we also have a module that's in line, basically communicating with the factory suspension control module, telling it that everything's okay, basically. And so I had to disconnect that and do some diagnostics, and it boils down to we might have an intermittent 12-volt supply issue to that module that talks to the suspension control module. So I re-looked at all that, redid some wires, resecured some stuff, and we're gonna give it a shot. I also checked the plug wires, and they all look secure and everything seemed good to go there. So we're gonna go out there and see what happens. For Hans, he basically looked at his plug wires. He came off track in race 3 and found that a plug wire was loose. So he changed his plug wires out, and then also went ahead and changed the spark plugs just to be safe. Trying to resecure those a different way, see how that goes. So hopefully he can have a good finish at this final race. We're going into race 4 in about less than an hour, and after that, that'll be the end of the weekend. So hopefully things go well this final race, and we finish well, have a good time, and get out of here in one piece. All right, guys, so this is the end of Gridlife weekend here at Chicago. Wasn't exactly the ending we all wanted. Hans ended up 4th, just missed the podium by a few points. So really, really close finish. Had we not had that issue in race 3, we would have had the podium right then and there. But nonetheless, you know, we come out here, that's racing. Sometimes days go better than what you want them to, or better than what you expect, and sometimes days don't go as well as you want them to. So that's just part of the deal of racing. Or as people say, that's hot rodding, and that's what happened here today. But nonetheless, we're out here, we're competing, we're doing the best we can, we're getting data, we're always trying to improve the car, and that's what it takes, is being out there and breaking stuff and fixing it and making it better, and then ultimately you end up on top. That's how it goes. So with my car, I have an injector circuit code that I developed in race 4, had no power basically, was throwing fireballs out the back of the car. So it's basically got some kind of issue with the injector and it's overcompensating. So we're gonna go tear into it, try to figure out what's going on with that, try to get that fixed. Maybe we'll end up in Laguna Seca in a couple weeks. Otherwise, maybe pit race. But nonetheless, we're gonna keep going. And guys, we appreciate everything. If you haven't already, like, subscribe to our channel, follow along as we do some crazy race car stuff, some crazy race car builds. And above all else, guys, stay tuned. All right, everybody, so as you know, we had a few issues at Autobahn, and now we got the car back at the shop. We were able to take a look at things and kind of figure out what was actually going on. We actually got some pretty big fireballs coming out of the back of the car before we started the race, as we were going around to begin the race, and that was news to me. I did not notice that or feel that from in the car, but it made for some pretty cool video. But nonetheless, guys, the reason this all was happening is we had excessive amounts of fuel in the exhaust, igniting in the exhaust. Now, why did we have excessive amounts of fuel? Well, previously we had broken the high pressure fuel pump on an earlier race, and in doing so, we did replace that high pressure fuel pump. We did, blow out the lines that we could. However, we didn't have a chance being at the track right then and there to inspect the injectors, flow test them, clean them, whatever you may usually do in that situation. So we just went ahead, threw the high pressure fuel pump on there, put it back together, and sent it. Well, it didn't work out so well for us this time. What ended up happening was one of the injectors was stuck open, so it was just constantly pouring fuel into the combustion chamber and subsequently into the cylinder, and that fuel was going out the exhaust and igniting in the exhaust, causing said fireball. So now we have put new injectors, new rails in, and we've retuned it on E85 to increase the amount of fuel we are requesting from the DI system to lower the rail pressure to prevent that high pressure fuel pump from failing again. Because previously we were on 93 octane.
but we've also detuned the car, given that we are having to meet our rule set for GLGT being 9 pounds to 1 horsepower. So by detuning the car, but it already having a camshaft in it with a fuel load, driving that high pressure fuel pump harder yet, now we are requesting less than stock horsepower essentially from the car. So that's really making our rail pressure skyrocket, or it was. And that's what caused that failure to the high pressure fuel pump. Now we've retuned it on E85, increasing the fuel delivery by 30%, thereby lowering that rail pressure back down, getting it back to normal levels, and so we can have consistent races and actually go out there and be competitive and try to win something here, right? So that's really where we're at right now. We cannot wait for our next race. We're gonna be going to pit race in October for the finals for Gridlife. We're really excited about it. We're gonna try to get a few test days in ahead of time just to make sure everything's tip top. But all the dyno testing looks great, making the same horsepower we were before. Actually picked up a little bit more on the low end, about 40 more pound-foot of torque. We're still within the rule set, but we're just optimizing everything as much as possible to have a really good result for the next race. So guys, just wanted to let you know about that, and we really appreciate everything. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, go to our website, PitesPerformanceTunes.com. And again, above all else, guys, stay tuned.